1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The State Minister of Finance says that the support of bilateral and multilateral parties is expected further. 15 imprisoned Sri Lankan fishermen in Myanmar pardoned. Sri Lanka implements new online visa system from today. Final rise of Dr. Arya Ratna to be performed with full state honours. And in foreign news, Russia's meat grinder soldiers, 50,000 confirmed dead. The favourable benefits of reforms process that has been carried out by the government for the economic revival are being received by the people. State Minister Shahan Semasinghe said that, however, the support of bilateral and multilateral parties is expected further. He made these remarks addressing the G24 Finance Minister and Central Bank Governors Summit. Successful measures have been taken by the government to develop the economy of the country. He further said that the government is engaged in a new path to develop the economy by strengthening the export process and the direct foreign investment without taking foreign debt. The 15 Sri Lankan fishermen who were sentenced to 7-year rigorous imprisonment in Myanmar for violating the maritime boundaries have been granted a general amnesty. This was communicated to the media by the ambassador of Sri Lanka in Yangon. These fishers had been arrested by the authorities in Myanmar for illegally crossing the country's maritime boundaries in December 2023. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Chairman of the firecrackers producers Dinesh Fernando says that the selling of firecrackers has been increased between 25 to 30% in this festive season than the previous New Year season. Explaining views on the production standard of firecrackers, he stated that the persons who have not received licenses are producing low-quality firecrackers. The Department of Immigration and Immigration says its new visa process and the online visa application portal will be implemented today. The new visa methodology, relevant fees, requirements to be met, and the validity period in Sri Lanka were earlier published in the Extraordinary Gazette number 2360/24, dated 27th of November 2023. In a press release, the department said arrangements have been made together with GBS Technology Service and IVS Global Institute to implement the e-visa system, the online methodology to be introduced in lieu of the ETA or Electronic Travel Authorization methodology currently in use. The department highlighted that it intends to provide a fast and efficient visa application process through the introduction of the new online portal in a bid to woo foreign tourists and investors. The final rites of the late Dr. APR Ratna, the founder and the President Emeritus of the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement of Sri Lanka, will be performed with full state honours. Sri Lanka Bhimanya Hangamage tutor Arya Ratna passed away yesterday at the age of 93 while receiving treatment at a private hospital in Colombo. Following his demise, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and the officials of Sarvodaya convened a meeting to discuss the funeral arrangements. During the meeting, the Secretary to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Public Administration and Provincial Council, Pradeep Vyasaratna, was instructed to see to it the final rites of the late Dr. Arya Ratna are performed with full state honours. Meanwhile, final rites of the late former UNP parliamentarian Palitha Thevarapperuma will be held on Friday at his private land. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
And the main news story this afternoon, tree planting of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year will be conducted at 10:16 auspicious time tomorrow. A program in this regard will be held at the Gangaramaya temple in Hunupitiya. Minister Sisira Jayakodi said that moringa plants, which is high in nutrition, is to be planted. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight this afternoon. Health officials have noticed significant prevalence of diarrheal disease among children these days, urging parents to exercise caution. Speaking to the media, Lady Ridgeway Hospital LRH consultant pediatrician Dr. Deepal Pereira said, it's a normal scenario to witness an uptick in cases of child diarrhea following the extended holidays, since children tend to consume more food from outside sources. And that came to you in our segment, Watchlight. And next up is World News.
Coming up, World News.
The headlines first. Russia's meat grinder soldiers, 50,000 confirmed dead. The US and EU eye new sanctions on Iran after attack on Israel. Chhattisgarh security forces killed 29 Maoist rebels in India. The international media says that Russia's military death toll in Ukraine has now passed the 50,000 mark. In the second 12 months on the front line as Moscow pushed its so-called meat grinder strategy, we found the body count was nearly 25% higher than in the first year. BBC Russian independent media group Media Zona and volunteers have been counting deaths since February 2022. New graves in cemeteries helped provide the names of many soldiers. Our teams also combed through open source information from official reports, newspapers and social media. The United States and the European Union say they are looking at imposing further sanctions on Iran after its attack on Israel during the weekend. U.S. Secretary Janet Yellen said they expected to take action in the coming days, while EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the bloc was working on it. Israel has urged its allies to sanction Tehran's missile program. United Nations sanctions of the program expired in October. Those sanctions had been linked to a wider deal to limit Iran's nuclear program. Security forces say they have killed 29 Maoist rebels in the central Indian state of Chhattisgarh, days before the country goes to polls. The incident took place in a Kankar area close to Besta, which is a stronghold of the rebels. The state police say this is the highest number of Maoist casualties in a clash in recent years. Chhattisgarh has been long-running insurgency by Maoists who say they are fighting for the rights of the poor. People in Besta are set to vote on Friday, on the first day of the general election, while Kankar goes to polls on the 26th of April. And back to the headlines of the world news. Russia's meat grinder soldiers, 50,000 confirmed dead. The US and EU eye new sanctions on Iran after attack on Israel. And Chhattisgarh security forces killed 29 Maoist rebels in India. And that ends world news. And now moving on to development news. The construction of the Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project has been completed and testing level operations for the production of hydroelectricity have begun, and the testing operation began about a month ago. Project Director DCS Alakanda said the construction of the entire project has been completed and it is scheduled to be officially opened on the 24th of April. He said commercial level operations have also started and that during the testing period alone, electricity worth 1,000 million rupees has been generated to the national power grid. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
In sports news, the third ODI between the visiting Sri Lankan women's team and South African women's team played at 1:30 p.m. today at Kochestram. The first match between the two nations ended in a draw. The second match was won by South African women by 7 wickets. Sri Lanka women's team won the T20 tournament played against South Africa women's team. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
On business news, Sri Lanka's leading pneumatic tyre manufacturer Seat Kalani has introduced 3 new variants of high-performance radial tyres into the market, widening choice for a significant segment of vehicle owners. Joining Seat's Orion Bravo range, the new radials are in the sizes of 155/65 R14, 165/70 R14 and 165 R13, with the first 2 sizes designated for popular models of compact and small cars and the third for mid-sized vans, the company said. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, Haley Solar, the renewable energy arm of Haley's Fentons, has opened doors to 2 new experience centres in Negombo and Kandy, respectively, bringing their total to 4 across Sri Lanka. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Moving on to the weather report. The Meteorology Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and Uva provinces and in the Galle and Mathura district after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces, it said. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in the Galle and Mathura district during the morning. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. The State Minister of Finance says that the support of bilateral and multilateral parties is expected further. 15 imprisoned Sri Lankan fishermen in Myanmar pardoned. Sri Lanka implements new online visa system from today. Final rites of Dr. Arya Ratna to be performed with full state honours. And in foreign news, Russia's meat grinder soldiers, 50,000 confirmed dead. With that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.